us. Now, two things. So Washington beat Texas last year, 27-20 in the Alamo Bowl. And there are two really bad things that happened to Texas last year that cannot happen again this year. And you were on with the first one. You said Texas needs 3 sacks against Michael Penix.
Yes.
You know how many sacks Texas had in the game last year against Michael Penix?
2.
Goose egg.
Uh-oh.
Last year, the Texas defense, which only gave up 27 points, right? Like, not horrible considering the firepower Washington had last year. And even though their offense is better this year, their offense was still really, really good. We're talking about a UW team that won 11 games under Kalen DeBoer in 2022. Texas had 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss, and 0 takeaways in the Alamo Bowl. It's kind of a miracle that they only lost by 7 with 0 splash plays on defense. So all of those have to change. They need at least 1 sack. Obviously, a sack counts as a TFL too. So if they get a sack, they'll get a TFL. But they sure as hell need at least 1 TFL. Hopefully they get a couple in the run game too, because Texas has been feasting on TFLs as a defense this year. And they need a takeaway. Like, Penix doesn't turn the ball over often at all. So it's not going to be easy to get one. But you really feel like in a game that could turn into a shootout, you're going to need one of those possession-changing plays as a defense. So
yeah, and that possession-changing play can be it doesn't have to be a miracle. It could be ball gets tipped, it's up in the air, it's up for grabs, linebacker grabs it. We need one of those when he does throw that sidearm angle, some of those things. We need some fortunate things to happen, like those balls get misdirected. Those sidearm, he throws the ball sidearm a lot, BK. So not everything for Michael Penix comes over the top. He's not this perfect, stylish passer. He can get the ball out on a lot of different angles, and he will, and he'll attempt to do it. So we need some balls that are tipped by guys. Hands have to be up. Tip ball, off defensive lineman gets it in his belly. Those kind of things need to happen in this game. You need turnovers against this group. Yep. When he throws, he can't have clean pockets to throw and hit his guys. There's got to be some tip balls going on in there. And Texas is pretty good at that. Even Sweat has a few tip balls this season, but you've got to reverse some of the fortunes of tip balls. Those can't just go tipped and hit the ground. Somebody's got to pick those.
Yep, that'd be nice.
I'm looking for 2 turnovers from him alone, whether it's a pass interception or a tip ball interception or a sack fumble.
If Texas gets 2 takeaways in this game, they're going to win.
Yes.
It's going to be tough. I think Michael Penix threw, 6 interceptions this year? He doesn't give the ball up. That's in 13 games, mind you. So
that dude's been around a pretty clean pocket. They've got the best offensive line in football.
They do. Yeah, they won the Joe Moore Award last week, and that's obviously a huge matchup, the Washington O-line against the Texas D-line. So that's number 1, right? Like, that's got to change.
Yes.
It doesn't take a genius to tell you that. Texas needs at least a sack. They need at least a TFL, and they probably need at least a turnover to feel good about their chances of getting their revenge against Washington. The other thing that killed Texas in the Alamo Bowl last year that's got to change in the Sugar Bowl this year, 3rd down defense. Last year,
yes, they couldn't get off the field.
Washington was 11 for 20 on 3rd down, and then they were 2 of 3 on 4th down. So those money downs, they converted at higher than 50%.
No, that can't happen.
And Washington had a bunch of double-digit play drives, and those just kill a defense, right? Texas forced a turnover on downs on one of those drives. But still, if you're keeping your offense on the sideline for that long and you're letting their offense stay on the field for that long, that's a recipe for disaster. So the good news for Texas, Buck, the Longhorns have the number 2 3rd down defense in the country. They're only giving up 3rd downs at a 26.5% clip this year, which is way better.
They really can't give up those 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s. You're going to give up some of those 3rd and 1s. I got that part of it, but you can't be giving up 3rd and longs for sure.
Yeah,
3rd and longs really suck.
They do. And Texas was giving up a lot of those last year. But let's be like 3rd and shorts are just as bad, right? Because they still keep your defense
drives going,
on the field. So, yeah, Texas, they've got to do a better job of getting off the field. Believe it or not, like, this secondary statistically was better last year than it is this year. But
I can believe that.
Texas did a good job. Yeah, no, that's believable. The believe it or not part is Texas did a good job of not giving up the big play last year.
Yes.
Like Michael Penix Jr., that's why Washington had so many double-digit play drives, right? They couldn't get that big play over the top. They were just nickel and diming Texas to death in the Alamo Dome last year. Texas actually did a pretty good job of preventing those explosive plays. The problem was they just couldn't get off the field on third down. That needs to change this year for Texas to move on.
Which means they got to do well on first down.
Yep.
And Texas does well on first down because they don't give up much running. You know, when teams try to run on them first, they don't give up many yards on first down runs. So they're going to have to continue that because once again, it's Washington. They will try to run the ball. They'll try to prove that this is what we do in the Pac-12. This is what we do against other teams with this offensive line. We're going to run the football. We're not going to put it all on our quarterback. We think we have a 1,000-yard rusher. We know we have a 1,000-yard rusher that can run against this defense. They're going to think they can go there and then go play action. So they're going to try to run for a while, but they won't stay all day doing it.
No.
They got the ultimate weapon at quarterback and wide receivers.
Yeah, it'd be silly for Washington to try to repeatedly run the ball against this Texas defense. Now,
and I think it's vice versa for Texas. They're going to run. They need to be running at this group. Now, not all day, but whatever they did in the bowl game, I mean, for the championship game, that was outstanding. Nobody was expecting running backs coming out of the backfield to catch balls, but now they have that. Washington's really got to pay attention to that with their linebackers now too.
Yep. I mean, the strength of Washington's the strength of Washington's defense, if they have a strength, is their run defense.
Yes.
The run defense ranks 38th in the country. Their pass defense ranks 120th in the country in terms of yards allowed. So if you're Texas, yes, of course you want to establish the ground game. That's been the identity of this offense for most of this season. And even without Jonathan Brooks, this run game has had a lot of success.
Yes, it has.
C.J. Baxter went for 100 yards in a game. Jaden Blue went for 100 yards in a game. So you haven't seen a tremendous drop-off in production from this run game, even though a guy who was in the mix for the Doak Walker Award tore his ACL about a month ago. But their pass defense is worse. So if you're Texas, you can't just bang your head against the wall trying to run the football. If Washington is doing a good job stopping it, then okay. Hey, everyone's talking about Washington's receivers, and they should. They're awesome. But you know who else has awesome receivers? Texas. You know who else has an awesome quarterback? Texas. Like Quinn Ewers is so much better now than he was at this time last year. And Xavier Worthy ain't playing with a broken hand. I don't think you have to worry about drops with him. And you've got A.D. Mitchell in this game. You obviously didn't have him last year.
Jordan Whittington's come on.
Whittington's still who he is, and Jatavion Sanders is still the weapon that he is. Like, you know, run the ball. Of course, you want to be multidimensional as an offense. You want to be able to do both at a high level. But if you're Texas, Washington secondary is not that good. And this Longhorn passing attack has been really good in the last two games. So,
they better be – those linebackers better be ready to cover these backs out of the backfield because Sark has found something in these guys that he's really happy with, the way they run routes and the way they catch the ball. So they better be in tune to not just think, oh, they're going to turn around and hand it off tackle or they're going to run this counter play. No, they're going to counter boot. They're going to throw it to the backs out of the backfield. They're going to run screens. So they've got a lot. This Washington team's got a lot to handle themselves on defense.
They do. And Washington's linebackers actually grade really well in coverage, but Oklahoma State's linebackers also graded really well in coverage. And like you said, I mean, the screen game was a huge part of Texas's offensive game plan in that Big 12 championship. So clearly Sark saw something on film that he wanted to exploit with those guys. And, you know, he's been studying Washington for damn near a month now. I'm sure he's found a couple of things that he wants to go after on this porous Washington defense. They're not here because of their defense, right?
No.
Like their offense is amazing. Everybody knows about it. Michael Penix Jr., Heisman runner-up. Dylan Johnson, 1,000-yard rusher. They had 2,000-yard receivers. And then Jalen McMillan, their third receiver, had 1,000 yards last year. And he only had bad numbers this year because he missed most of the season with an injury. So their offense
that group's going to try their best to get their one-on-ones versus this secondary or versus some of these safeties.
Yeah.
That's a mismatch for Texas right there, a total mismatch. So, their coach is a smart guy. He's been working on how do we get this, how do we motion, how do we make sure that this safety is on that particular player for them. Those battles, boy, you better have pressure on. We're going to force Michael Penix to get rid of that ball, and you're going to have to bring pressure from just your defensive front's been great doing that all year long, but you may have to bring linebacker pressure now.
Yeah, you have to. There's no may. You have to bring pressure. Like Texas is going to win sometimes. just rushing 4. But if that's your plan for the game, to sit
No,
back and drop 7 in coverage on every single play to try
no,
to
he'll
cover these
find guy.
Washington, no, you're
No.
screwed. You've got no like we've learned that. That's not just going against Washington. That's this Texas defense. That's who they are. They've got to be aggressive at all times. So, they're going to have to bring extra blitzers, which is a little bit of a scary thought because it does mean, your corners and safeties are going to be one-on-one against these stud receivers a lot on Monday. But Texas has a better chance of being successful doing that than they do playing the prevent style defense.
No, they can't sit back. Sit back, they'll get killed.
Yeah. So it's going to turn into a shootout, man. I think a lot of people expect it to turn into a little bit of a shootout, even though last year's game only hit 47 total points. These offenses are a hell of a lot better, and both of these defenses have some issues, especially in the secondary. So we could see some points. But once again, Texas, they need sacks. They need TFLs. They need takeaways. They've got to do a better job defensively of getting off the field on third down. Those are the keys for the Texas defense to find a win in this Sugar Bowl.